ready, Sugar Muffin?
I'm ready.
Okay. Listen, is that
And
you?
we're up.
We're up. Everybody,
We're here.
hooray! We are going to
Hi.
end the year in a big way. We have the Sue Costello with us. Woo-hoo! I am so psyched. Let me just tell them some of your credits. So I'm trying to think. I should do them from heart. Okay, Tough Crowd, Comics Unleashed, Last Comic Standing, Premium Blend, your own show on Fox, your own sitcom. You have Sue TV. You have Kadoozy Cast. I've been on Kadoozy Cast. I'm sorry. You talk with Mark Maron twice. You're in every effing Boston. What?
3 times with Mark.
Okay, we'll get to it. Okay, and every friggin' movie that's made about Boston. But my first question is the thing behind you. Is that a dream board? What is that?
Like, some kind of vision board, Sue? What's going on here?
Oh, that's my Sue TV background. That's where I do Sue TV.
Oh,
Sue TV.
I like it.
You have so much going on, and I've known you so long. What's the biggest thing happening to you right now?
Well, first of all, let's tell everybody how much you've supported me all over the whole time. You've been so good to me, Jane. I can't even take it.
Well,
Jane believed in me secretly all along. And when I get my TV show, Jane's on there. I'm saying it live right now. Jane's
There we go. I'm going to write it down.
Do whatever she wants to do.
Whatever.
I've been able to fight as hard as I have is because Jane's been secretly in the background.
But anyway, it's just you're so talented. It's so easy. And you're Boston. Now, did I hear right? You're moving back to Boston from
I'm in Boston right now. I already moved.
Oh, welcome back.
Thank you.
This is a very Boston show. You know, I was raised in Brockton. Kathy lives in Medford. Catherine is in Southborough. And Kelly is Natick or Framingham?
Natick, yeah.
And
I'm in Medfield.
she's coming on shortly. We got to watch for her in the waiting room.
You know what I like, Sue, is that you never lost your Boston accent.
Thank you. I purposely did that. I do because I really know how to make things funny with it. I know what I'm doing. People always, and also when I went to school at UMass, they were like, you need to lose your accent. And then I found out that Shakespeare was buried in Dorchester, England. And I was like, fuck you. I'm not losing my accent. They all told me. Everybody told me to lose my accent.
You know, Sue, honestly, when I went to college and they made fun of me for my Brockton accent, and I changed. I sort of wish I hadn't. When I get emotional, the kids, it's duck and cover. You know, they know if ER goes to AH, forget it. You know, and I love going to Nantucket because I feel like I can speak in my first language. You know,
I kill on Nantucket. Nantucket, those rich people just absolutely. I can't even walk down the street. They swarm me. I did the Nantucket Film Festival for Showtime a couple summers ago, and I wore my T-shirt that said "Forget about the Joneses" on it. And I told one of the most humiliating audition stories ever, and I couldn't even walk around the island.
Did you do storytelling in the Nantucket Film Festival? Oh.
I've been doing it since it started off. It used to be in this little bar, and it was really fun where it was like late night, and then they turned it into fancy smancy.
And then now it's in the Sconset Casino. I think it used to be in the Rose and Crown.
Yes.
I love the first year of the comedy festival. They had an all women's night, and we went over to the Rose and Crown afterwards, after the women's show. And Jerry Stiller and Ann Mayer were there. And Jerry got up on stage and started talking. And Ann's in the back heckling him, saying, Jerry, get off of the stage. These young people, they don't care what you think, Jerry. Get off of the stage. And I just said, oh my God, I'm seeing in real time what they did on Ed Sullivan and all these other shows.
They did that at the, so I was in the movie Southie with Ann.
Oh God, I didn't know Ann was in it, but I knew you.
I didn't know Ann was in it. Oh,
yeah,
all right.
She played the mother. She played Donnie Wahlberg's mother.
And what did John Shea? Did John Shea direct that?
Yeah, John Shea directed it. And when I met Ann, she had the filthiest mouth of anybody I'd ever met, and I fell in love with her. And then they came to see my play in LA.
Oh, great.
I was staying at the Chateau Marmont, and they were staying there. They stayed there while Jerry was on King of Queens. And so I saw them at the pool. And I was looking at them kind of waving, and they were ignoring me. And I got nervous. I was like, this is weird. Why are they ignoring me? They're coming to see my play tonight. It's not like I'm, intruding on their fame or anything. And they kept ignoring me. And then finally Ann came over. She had like her bathing suit on and her bathing cap with the strap. She's like, sorry, Sue, me and Jerry were just having a fight. And then she went upstairs, and she was on the over the balcony screaming with the phone, like, Jerry, Ben's on the phone. Ben's on the phone. I was like, this is like Dorchester. This is
Oh my
how the
God.
mothers used to yell over the porch in Dorchester.
Hanging
It was
out the
such a riot.
window. I love her to death so much. She once told me I should swear more in my act. Well, let me clarify. I should swear in my act. I don't know if I ever told you this story, but and then we were both at this fundraiser we didn't want to be at, and Amy, her daughter, wanted to stay. My husband wanted to stay, and so I'm trying to inch out of there. And she just said that I should swear more in my act. And I said, well, I'm kind of a clean comic. And she's walking away. She had a cane at that time, and her assistant. And I called after her so that nobody could hear. I made sure nobody could hear. I said, hey, Ann. And she turned around over her shoulder, and I said, fuck you, Ann Mayer. And we were tight after that.
And then I remember this woman came down from, she was going to her daughter's wedding. And she yelled over, like, how do I get somewhere in the hotel? And Ann turns around. She goes, you go up the stairs, you take a right, and purple shoes don't go with the green dress. And I was like, Ann!
Totally the best, totally unfiltered. How very wonderful.
And then I don't think Amy will mind me telling this because it's been some time now. So Ann had a terrible stroke,
I know.
stroke.
Yeah.
And for whatever, I mean, I was friendly with the family, but Amy called me to come to the ICU when Ann was in there. And I really still don't really know why me, but I went. And I think because I wasn't as connected to the pain, I was a little lighter when I went in.
Yeah.
And I went up to Ann. It was very scary. Everybody was in so much pain. And I was like, I heard the doctor say, if Ann lives, she's going to go uptown to Riverdale to a rehabilitation home. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I remember I just pulled it on myself and I went over and I looked in her eyes and I went, Ann, I go, because I remember thinking Ann doesn't want us all crying. She'll be going crazy if she thinks we're crying. So I went over to her and I looked in her eyes and I go, Ann, I hear you moving uptown. All of a sudden, everybody lit up and they ran over and they were like, yeah, you're an uptown girl. You're an uptown girl. And sure enough, she went uptown. And me and Amy used to go visit her. And I remember we sang, what's that song? Grease. What's her name? There Are Worse Things I Could Do.
Yeah. Oh, from Anne on Grease one.
I wish Kelly's coming in at some point. I wish you're here right now because Kelly would know all the words.
Yeah.
Rizzo. There Were Worse Things I Could Do.
Yep.
And Anne couldn't move her body a lot. And we were singing in her eyes and I could see how much she was enjoying it. And I remember I got so embarrassed like halfway through because it was very intimate. And I just remember thinking, Sue, just sing it for Ann. She's enjoying it. So me and Amy sang that song to Ann while she was sitting in it. And I remember Amy still remembers it. Just such a lovely moment for that woman.
Wow. That was really, when you were on Mark Maron, you said 3 times?
Yeah.
I've only heard twice, I guess. So what is he like? I should ask you what you're like, but what is he like?
Asshole.
Really?
Yes. He's a pompous asshole. Huh?
Wow. No, tell more.
You know
Say
what I
more.
like is how you hide things. And you
really
nuance them. And I love how you are so filtered. Oh,
That's how you really feel.
That's how I really feel. I feel like he's a pompous asshole. He edited my last WTF. He fucking cut it all up and told me he wasn't gonna. It was during the whole CBS thing when I had my deal with CBS and he dropped it the day before the Les Moonves article and edited out all my pro-women stuff and said he wasn't gonna do it. And then they did, and then they lied to me and said they didn't do it and gaslit me, and then they sent me the unedited version. So I'm not a big fan of Mark Maron. Then put that word on the street. Yes, I have beef with them. I have no problem saying that either.
I like how you come on, you're like, fight me.
Yeah. Fuck off, everybody. Everybody's calling me cunt. That's all they ever do is call me a cunt. I'm like, let's just call me Sue Costello from now on and get it off the table and get it over with. Well, that's what my name is. Sue Costello. Let's move on.
That's how we're going to finish up this year.
Finishing up the year with the.
This is a 4:00 show, Sue.
Sorry, but that's what they call me every day, all day long. It's not my word.
But listen, I want to tell you.
I like how she started she's like bouncing it off the top. It's not me, it's them.
They're just quoting.
They're calling me.
It's on my birth certificate. It's my Christian name.
You know what I love about Sue? Sue has one of her sayings is "Do no harm, take no shit." And that's pretty
I
much.
like that. That's a good bumper sticker, Sue.
Yeah,
Great bumper
that's
sticker.
That's
was,
really, and I think as women, I think it's a
yes.
big thing as women.
Now listen, you were in the right place today because Catherine Cat Rose over there or over there, who, really got this off the ground. She said, I think I'm going to read some jokes online, and then, no, I can get some friends. We can help you. And she launched this whole show, but she's all about, it's a women's empowerment platform. And she has all these women coaches who coach like frontline nurses or anybody with a problem about life or business. So you two should just know each other, because Sue is so about women's empowerment.
Sounds like it.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
I've been talking a lot about it on my show, but when women negotiate, talk less, ask for more. Talk less, ask for more. Talk less, ask for more. And I talk a lot about the pitfalls that we fall into, and the imbalance of power, and how we feed into it, and how we've been socialized, and how it's not good for everybody, and the gaslighting and everything. Like I was on Jim and Sam this morning, and I'm able to articulate it instead of just like getting emotional about it. I'm able to say, like, this is what Mark did to me is gaslighting. Like the guys don't know. So instead of going after the guys, I'm giving them a moment to like say, like, that's what they don't even know.
Yeah, I like that you use that term, Sue, because I think it's one that, like, we use personally with people, or when we're talking about like awful like spouses or whatever, but we don't just use it in just a general thing. It's always like this is a misunderstanding. They don't like me. We don't get along. No, I was being gaslit.
Yeah.
But the guys don't know what that is. That's what I'm realizing. Like I've gone so far in my career where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I got to bridge this gap somehow. And I'm from Dorchester. I'm tough. I can handle it. So I'm like, I'll do it. I'll be the one that takes the hit. I'll do it and let them yell at me, and then move on from there. Because that's what happens. Like I've been talking about that on my show. When you go on strike. So say when Stop and Shop went on strike last Easter, what you do with the strike is you strike, you leave the place so that the place gets scared. Like that's the big pow. You go pow, right? And then you come through with your plan. You can't just stay a POW all the time, or else you're going to be in trouble. Same thing happened with the Black Lives Matter. The reason why they burnt down the Target is because they came into their communities and they didn't help them. So it was a visual of like burning down this corporation. They have insurance. Nobody really got hurt. That's why they did it. But you do that once to get the POW, and then you come in with the plan. Same thing with I feel like that about the Women's March. When all the women went to the Women's March, they all spent money. First of all, they're making less money than the men. They spent money on airfare, on hotels, on childcare, on leaving work. So now they can't go on a vacation because they took that money for vacation, and there was no plan. So all that energy that came, there was no way to keep moving forward. So this organization thing. So that's what I'm realizing with the guys too. I'm like crashing in sideways with the guys where I'm willing to, I do the first POW. Like I go right to their face and I go, can I swear or no?
Well, it's
just not the C word. That's all. Because we've done it. No, here's the reason. We had our quota, and you used it.
She went 150% over the quota.
But that was your name, so.
That's my name.
That's fine.
If I make it legal, you're just going to have to say it.
But you're taking a hit on the front lines for a lot of us, and thanks.
Yeah. Because I understand it now. I'm like, oh, there's no way around this without taking the hit. Like, so that I was joking about it, but that's literally, I've been getting emails. So I stood up to Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports, and you should see the email. And then I was on Jim and Sam this morning. You should see the emails that they're sending me. And because I'm not emotional anymore, I'm able to kind of just I'm showing everybody. I'm showing even the people that are doing it. Like they're all calling me bipolar. They're like, Sue Costello's bipolar. She's lying. She's this, she's that. And I'm like, I'm not lying. I have a signed deal from CBS. They're like, she's lying. And I'm like, I'm like, oh, no wonder why women have a hard time. So bizarre. The juxtaposition between reality and what they're saying to you is so crazy.
Yeah, because you feel like you're the crazy person in the sane room when it's the other way around. Sometimes where you're like, am I the crazy one here, or am I the only sane one? Not that like guy's crazy, but that's the one thing I do now. If I want to shut down a fight with my husband, I'm like, I feel like you're gaslighting me. Are you gaslighting me? And because he doesn't really know what it means yet, you know what I mean? Like he's like, what are you talking? I don't know what you're saying.
What?
But the punishment doesn't match the crime is what usually happens.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing, so the men come and bulldoze us over. That's how they made a living. They on our backs. I mean, that's how they steal our ideas. They make us do their work for them, and we take care of their houses while they go work. I mean, it's been going on for 2,000 years. So what I'm realizing is I'm just going back at them with what they came to me with, and they're like, and then I make it through that initial shock, the burning of the Target, the strike, and then I go, this is what I'm talking about. And it's almost like I have to do that with them because they're Not a smart, no, yeah.
You get their attention.
No,
Do you think it is because you don't have that emotion, like you said, like you take the emotion out of it and you're just there in it? Because that's where I get tripped up, is the emotional part of it.
Yes, I'm like 3D. I'm able to be in the moment and watch the moment at the same time. And also I'm able to handle the emotions of like, oh, this is going to be really hard. Because that was always hard for me. Like the sexism was always so debilitating. And then it was like, oh, now I have to go even further and stand up for myself even more, even though it's already been unfair. And I have to figure out a way to put it aside and listen to people. Like some women are like, no, I'm not going to put it aside. And I'm like, I have to be strong and be like, well, somebody has to do something. So let me see if I can do this. Let me see if I can navigate my way through it. And then I'm watching the men and I'm like, oh, they don't know what they're talking. They don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's a key thing that you're saying there, Sue, too, because like putting it aside, because I think what happens is we get, I can only speak for myself. I get distracted with whatever that deflection was, and I go on to that. Like, why are you talking about my thighs? You know what I mean? Instead of like, we were talking about this. Do you know what I mean? Like
That's
there's
one of
like
the,
a
that's
deflect.
also one of the tactics though, but it's
That's right.
unconscious. I think it's unconscious. I think it's been going on for 2,000 years. And I think I even see with
That's
like,
a good point.
and guys who love me. Like if I stand up to a man, I'll watch guys who love me actually come together and stand up for the man. I'm like, oh, this is just a thing. It's like a cycle that I just need to keep breaking, to just keep going through. And I just keep going through it. I'm like, okay, all right, call me the name. Okay, now what?
Do you find that you get that from women as well? I mean, because you've been in comedy for a long time.
I mean, I'll never forget the night the Louis C.K. Article came out. Now, the Louis C.K., the New York Times girls, Kara and what's her name, came to me about Louis. And they were like vicious animals. And I remember thinking, what is this? What is this vicious animal behavior like? And they were trying to find dirt on Louis. And I was like, I don't want to be part of this. I don't want to. And then I thought about Louis having daughters, and I thought about him killing himself. And I'm like, if I do this, I'll be part of that. It'll be on my back if something happens to him. And also, the way they were coming at me just didn't feel right. Because I said to them, I said, well, I'll talk to you about Louis. I go, Louis never helped me, ever. Not only has he never helped me, he always told me I was too pretty to be on a show. So there's that, right? And I said, and I know. And I said, even still, I don't want to take him down like that. So I'm like, he didn't help me, and I still don't want to take him down like that. And I had to go on stage in New York the night the Louis article dropped. And there was a girl who booked the room who tries to be a comic, who isn't a comic. And then, and I say that because it's just the facts. This happens too. And there's a lot of women who book clubs who want to sleep with the comics, and they don't let women work. That's just a fact too. Those are just the hard numbers.
I'm looking at the Wikipedia page right now. Yeah.
So I go on stage, and all I joke about, because I was so terrified to go on stage after this happened, and I joke about the women asking me about the Louis story. So I'm like, that's the angle I'm going to take. That's how I'm going to be able to handle my set tonight. And there was a girl in the front row, and she attacked me like you've never seen. She was like an animal. She was like, he still did it. He still, like, with rage that shouldn't be in a comedy club. If it was any other time, they would have kicked the girl out. But the girl who booked the club didn't protect me either. And I remember leaving that night thinking, oh, some of it's the women too. We got to watch out for everything. And that doesn't mean I'm against women. Yeah. Everything I'm doing in my career right now is for all women, even the women that hurt me. It's for all. You can't weigh and measure. And part of that is the patriarchy made that in the comedy world. There was only one spot for all of us. So it creates.
Yep. Kelly says that all the time.
Kelly just came in. Do you know each other from before?
Yes. We do know each other. We have great love for each other, right, Sue?
Hi, yes. Hi.
I like that Kelly came in and like, Louis C.K. She's like,
you know what's funny is I was coming in, you know how your video comes in second and you can hear, I was like, oh man, what are they talking about?
You're like, I thought I was coming in when we're talking about James smoking and getting arrested.
Right.
But so, you've been around it, the whole biz, a long time. What are the changes you've seen, whether for women or for just comedy? What are the changes you've seen?
I'm seeing that there's a huge change going. I'm seeing a lot of positivity. I'm seeing a lot of hope. I'm seeing that it's not going to be, that's not comfortable. I'm seeing that the men are not going to give us the power. Everybody's like, oh, they'll let us. They're not going to.
Nobody willingly gives up power.
No.
They're not going to. So we have to insert ourselves into the situation, and we have to collectively come together. I had a guy from the mayor's office after he heard my WTF, even the edited one. And he came to me in New York and he's like, Sue, you women need to organize. You need to get together. And I'm like, I know. And everybody says like, oh, some women will throw other women under the bus and everything. I'm like, and so I just always say the 100 monkey effect. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's
What's that?
It's 100 monkeys. If you get them to do exactly the same thing, completely 100%, no weakness, you can change the DNA. So that's what I go to now. I'm like, if we could just get 100 women together, we don't need everybody. We could change the energy.
I don't know about the 100 monkeys, but I do know about the bonobo monkeys.
Yeah.
And like, if a bonobo male is harassing, sexual or otherwise, a female bonobo, all the female bonobos drop out of the trees onto him. They unify.
Like ninjas. I love it.
Yeah, no,
Ninja bonobos.
it's an image that's just kind of stuck with me, and I'm there like, I like these female bonobos. They must come from Dorchester and Brockton.
We could do that.
But we've been socialized to not do that. We've been socialized to fight each other.
Yeah.
They like when we
Yeah.
fight each other because
Yeah.
they don't feel it. Everybody always says that, even when they say about women. So there's two other things about women in comedy. So we only get one spot on the weekend. So of course we're going to fight for it, right? And the other thing is, I always tell this about Tough Crowd. You want to talk about talking out of school? Tough Crowd.
I wanted to ask you about Tough Crowd because that was a tough gig.
Yeah.
And you really held your own with those guys, and I'm there like, this woman is awesome.
Thank you, Jane. Thank you. Yes. And they're still telling me I don't have a career. These guys are emailing me this morning. Who is she? She has no career. I'm like, but that's what they do. They like want to change the narrative and make you invisible. Like they're trying to say I don't have I'm like, don't even get me started.
But you sort of broke some of the rules in that I think you were one of the first female headliners. You know, usually we're like, you know, they'll have us either MC or in the middle. Like, I think I'm often the sorbet between courses, you know. And I just say, why can't we have 3 women on a show? Why not 2? You know, but you rarely get 2.
Every time you have 3 or 5 women on a show, it's the best show anybody's ever seen, first of all. All right, so we'll start with Tough Crowd. So Tough Crowd, this is the way Tough Crowd used to be set up. So it was Colin Quinn and all the boys. They were regulars. They were paid regulars. So they had a camaraderie and they had a salary.
Let's say who it was.
So it was Patrice
on it.
Geraldo, Jim
Geraldo.
Norton, Nick
Wow.
DiPaolo, Keith Robinson.
This is a lot of testosterone. This was
Yeah, these were all but the idea that they had a salary and that they had built the camaraderie because they were always together. That's
I didn't know that they had a salary. I thought they were guests too.
No, they were salaries. And then every once in a while, they would circle the women in. And so it would be one woman with 4 men. And we didn't have a steady salary and we didn't have the camaraderie that they had. So if you ever saw a woman on Tough Crowd do a good job, she did like 1,000,000% way more than what you saw coming out of the camera.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whenever I saw you though, I thought, okay, she's repping me. She can handle these guys.
I
You know?
can handle them. I'm from Dorchester. I can handle them. I mean, and I've been around them all. I've been on everybody's show. I've been on Artie Lang's show. I've been on Jim Brewer's show. I've been with Jay Thomas. I've been.
Aren't you doing something with Jim Brewer now? What's going on there?
No, I haven't seen Jim in a while. I'm just doing my own thing now. That's what's so cool. I'm not doing the guy shows
Are
anymore.
you doing your 1-person show?
I'm
I've
going to
seen
do that.
twice?
I'm going to try to do that virtually now. I'm going to do it with where I'm going to control all the lighting and everything just from my hip. There's going to be nobody in the audience, and so it's going to speak to what I've been doing with all my career, which is the artist doesn't really need anybody. And so I'm going to control the lighting and the sound from my hip, and I'm going to do it in a room by myself with all the lights changing. Yeah.
Wow.
I like it. It's like a
Really
fanny
cool.
pack.
I love
Go.
control.
Control.
That-
Janet
Yeah.
Jackson.
Is
Oh,
that,
I can tell you
is
about
that what
that.
changed,
About
that would change for you, Sue? Yeah, because everyone had plans at the beginning of this pandemic. Like, so this is where you're.
Well, I was going to
Is
do
that
it
what
on
you planned?
Broadway or on Broadway and shoot a special like Leguizamo did.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going backwards. I'm going to do it as a virtual special, and then when we can go out again, go do it on the road. Do it
Oh,
live.
that's smart. That's smart. Do you have a name for it?
It's called I Am Sue Costello right now.
Okay. Now you're
I'm
Christian.
Sue Costello right now, or just I'm Sue
No, I
Costello?
can't. It's really called the other name, but I can't say it.
Hey.
Kelly missed that. We crossed the unt barrier again, as Jane would say.
Yeah.
I expected nothing less when I heard Sue was going to be on the show. I was
We're
like,
also
well,
psyched to
everybody
have you.
better buckle up because we're going to have our.
Nobody told me. Usually you have a list. When you do a radio show, they tell you all the words you can't
They
say.
don't do the list, Sue, and then they get mad.
You know, I would have went around.
Oh,
it
well,
if I
we should start a list for next year. Let's have like some kind of major writer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This is what you
Everyone has
can't
to compliment Jane's hair.
Yeah.
And then we go from there.
Jane's turtleneck.
I want to tell you guys about Vegas too. So I headlined Vegas. So in Vegas, they would make me co-headline. They would never let me headline. So the first time I went, it's like 17 shows at the Laugh Factory in Vegas too. And so I went to Vegas and headlined the first time. I co-headlined. So when you co-headline, they make you do it with a man. So they make you flip. So you do the first show, it's me closing, and then
Oh, I see.
second show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Vegas is really, because they're not even really there to see comedy. They're just there to get a break from the
Right.
gambling. So it's really
From the
not.
ding ding.
So I co-headlined the first time, and the manager, when I came out, he's like, he's like, why does he have, you shouldn't be co-headlining. He's like, you just killed, you should be the headliner. So logically in my head, I go, oh, the manager's saying it. I just proved myself. I'm going to headline, right? No. So then the guy, again, another guy who's a comic who didn't make it as a comic, who's a booker. And so he tried to get me to middle one time.
I love Sue tells the truth. It's just
That's
so
the truth.
straight
You
on. It's
can't
such
do what I do. They torture us. They
You do
torture us.
you.
The guys, huh?
I wish we just had like a little running tag where like, was it this person? Was it this person?
I
Was
know,
it this
I know.
person?
Harry
I know.
Basil, who books the Vegas Laugh Factory. I don't care.
Oh,
He doesn't even care. That's what I learned too. They don't even care. They don't care. That we are so worried that they're going to be mad at us. They love it. They have competition. They love it. They love when you. So he makes me middle one time, and I go, all right, I'll do it as a favor, right? They do the favor, right? And so the next time I tell him, I email him, I said, you better not fucking be doing this because I'm a woman. And they all yell at you and everything. So then I go, he has me in Reno headline and going to Vegas, right? And so I'm headlining in Reno, and he's got this guy middling for me that's disgustingly filthy, right? And so the MC, so this is right when things started changing, where people started seeing what was going on with women. It was like just all of a sudden the movement started happening. And so the guy was MC, and he's like, Sue, why does he have you middling for you? He's filthy. I go, because he wants to make it hard for me to headline.
Mm-hmm.
And he was starting to see that.
Oh.
And then he said, who are you co-headlining with in Vegas? And he said, that guy can't follow you. And so then I started seeing it too. I was like, oh, something's going, this guy really is, I'm not crazy. This guy is really fucking with me.
yeah.
You know? And so then I'm in Reno, and he's calling me to do all this press in Vegas. And I'm like, why am I doing all the press in Vegas? What about the other guy? I get to Vegas. I get there the first night. He has me closing both shows. So I go, oh, like the good little girl I am. I go, oh, tomorrow night he'll have the guy closing the shows. Nope. Next night I get there and I'm closing the shows again. And I go, no. And then what do? They write the articles and they tell us we have to ask for our money. We have to be very nice. We have to make sure we ask for it. Because if you don't ask for it, they'll tell you should have asked for it. It's all this fucking rigmarole that we have to run through, right? And so I email him that night and I say, Harry, if you want me to close the shows, you got to pay me more. You're a bitch. You're difficult.
Oh
You
my
know,
God.
no one ever says this. The other guy can close all the shows. I go, no, Harry, because I always state what they try to do is get you off the deal too. I go, no, Harry, we're going to co-headline. We'll flip. And so I have to go. Now I have to flip knowing that it just treated me like that. Plus we're alone. We're in a hotel room by ourselves. We're dependent on them for money. And so I do all the shows. I have to do the late shows. The other guy doesn't have to do the late shows. That Sunday night I go out with the press guy and we're having dinner. And I go, can you fucking believe that he was making me do all the work and paying us the same? And all of a sudden the guy goes like this to me, Sue, I bet you he was paying him more. And it was like somebody took a knife and sliced it down my chest. I was like,
God.
and I said, I prayed. I said, God, let me see that guy's check. And I walked into the dressing room and the maitre d' gave me my check and it was like $500 more than I was getting paid. And I got a little excited. And then I looked and it was the guy's name. And so now I can describe to you what happens to women. So now I can think it through. I go, now I feel like I'm ripped inside, right? I feel so powerless. I did everything that I was supposed to do, right?
Right.
And so now what happens is we go on stage and what do? I would have acted wild before because I would have been so hurt.
Yeah.
And then the audience, and then the word would have gotten around town, Sue Costello freaked out in Vegas. She's crazy, right? So I held on to myself and then I went to my hotel room in between shows. It was the last show coming up and I was like, I'm saying something. I'm going down there and I'm purposely in control, gonna say something. And I walked on stage and I go, this is my 17th show. I go, and they're paying that fucking guy more than me. Can you believe it? The audience went absolutely ape shit. They were like, time's up, time's up. And it was the first time that I saw that they
Good for
didn't
you.
know. It was like breaking the silence. It was like breaking the cycle of abuse.
Wow.
And then they sent the bouncer. The bouncer was in the corner, like trying to intimidate me. And I was like, I've been thrown out of strip clubs in Canada by my neck, buddy. I'm like,
There's a Dunkin' Donuts that I'm not even allowed in anymore. You don't scare me.
Give it your best shot. You bounce off of me.
Sue, I think you should write a book of just have all your emails in a book where they're probably all like, fuck off. What are you doing?
he was Les Moonves. He told me to go to HR. I said, fuck you. You go to HR. I don't work for you. I have a million emails. You guys are going to I'm telling you.
You should make a
Tell them
book.
tell them one Les Moonves story. I know there
One
are.
Les Moonves story. Les Moonves gave me my first 2 TV deals. And back in the day, I didn't know what was going on. So back in the day, I got my first pilot with Les Moonves because they wanted me for the show called Townies. I don't know if you guys remember, it was about Boston, but they hadn't written it yet. And Les Moonves, I loved Les, and they had a pilot that was already ordered to pilot. So that means they were already going to shoot the pilot. The other thing didn't even have a script yet, so you didn't know. So the business decision was to take the pilot because I didn't know if that was going to be made. And it was also the guy, it was Carsey Warner who wrote Roseanne.
Oh, I love them. Yeah.
Oh.
But the guy who was writing it, I didn't know if he could write the Boston show. So I was like, I don't know. I already know this woman who's doing. So I do that, and then Townies comes back and they want me back. They want me on the show. Now Townies is on the air. So now they're guaranteeing me to go on the air. Les Moonves doesn't want to lose me. And I only know this now in hindsight. I didn't know it back in the day. Les Moonves doesn't want me to go on the air and be in competition. He wants to keep me on CBS. So he guarantees me the 13 episodes on Murphy Brown with a backup development deal.
Wow.
Right. So then I, business-wise, say that's a better move because I don't know what's going to happen to Townies. That could screw me. But if I get to go learn from the best and have 13 episodes and have the crowd get my experience.
Yeah.
And I had reverence for Candace Bergen. And 3 days in, she kicked me off. She fired me. And I never knew why.
She fired you?
She fired me. And so then I was already fucked because I couldn't do the other show because I picked to be with her. And I knew she didn't want me to go in front of the live audience because she didn't want me to be funnier than her, which I didn't get at the time. And also now looking back, I see that Les probably forced me on her. So there's women pitting women against him, putting women against. She probably was like, I'm not putting her on my show where she's going to. It's logical. I wouldn't put. I mean, I don't know if I would want to be forced some girl who's going to be younger and funnier than me on the show either. So
Yeah.
So then after that, I still had the backup development deal. And Les called me at like midnight one night at home, and he said, Sue, can you get on a plane? I just fired Ileana Douglas. And so there was a pilot called Queens that I went and took over for. And from Queens, I got Costello because I was very believable in Queens. But flash forward to 20-something years later, ABC was coming to me because they wanted me to do a talk show. The View wanted me on. I met with them like 20 times. IFC wanted me to do a show because they were seeing me on stage being funny about being a woman and not being mad. That was very valuable to them.
Yeah.
And so I emailed Les and I said, can you meet with me? I need advice. And he said, sure. And in 2017, I walked into the office and met with Les Moonves and asked him for advice and told him a little bit of my TV idea. And I don't know what would have went on in the office because I had no idea what was going on in the background, but he told me, he kept asking me, how you making a living? How you making a living? So everything I'm talking about now, I've lived. I had to live. I went through the fire. He kept saying, how you making a living? And I purposely remember saying to him, I'm broke, because I wanted him to know how much sacrifice. I knew he was a failed actor, and I purposely told him I was broke because I invested everything in my play, everything, all my money from everything. And then he said, okay, film your play for me. Now, mind you, I went in there for advice. I didn't ask him.
Right.
And I just knew, and I remember that same feeling, that knife cutting through my chest. And this was the same, it wasn't the same week as the Vegas. It was a few weeks afterwards. But I remember that same feeling in my chest was shaking. I was shaking inside. And I said to myself, I just told him I was broke. Why is he telling me to film my play? And then it hit me, and I go, oh, I know. If I say I'll film my play for him, I have to ask him for money, and then he owns me. And I held on to myself, and I said, no. I said, okay. And then the energy in the room changed, and he started acting crazy and auditioning for me and telling me don't sign any deals. And then from there, I went to the pitch meeting. They tried to steal my idea. The whole Ronan Farrow thing came out. Mark Maron edited my podcast. They tried to steal my script before the article came out. I negotiated a deal that has provisions for women that has never been done before. They tried to retaliate against me because they didn't want anybody to know. I had to make it through the Me Too movement because they knew that the head attorney knew that nobody would listen to me because of the Me Too movement. So that's how calculated they were. That's how much they hurt me during a women's movement while they were going down for hurting women.
Wow.
Gosh.
So now I'm going to come through. And I knew not to sue them. I knew everything. I knew to sit still because I'm like, I know what happens. I sue them. I get an attorney. Attorney wants 1/3. So they squeeze me. I don't get the money for my script because I don't give them
The
my
attorney
script.
makes you settle. So
The attorney makes you settle. And then what do I look like? I look like Sue Costello, who sued CBS because I had a failing career or something. I said, fuck you. I said, I'll go all the way to the Supreme Court. I called the cops. I did everything. Wait till you see what I did.
You call the cops?
Yeah.
I want to hear that 911 call. I want to hear that 911 call.
I love. Where's that Dateline?
What I like is,
I'm going to lay it all out too.
Sue, there
Love
aren't
it.
enough people who are willing to say no to these powerful people.
No, and they tried to kill me. They tried to crush me. They tried to starve me. Sometimes I only had $8 in the bank. So I was under confidentiality and I couldn't go anywhere else with my script, and they were retaliating against me the whole time. So I could barely even function. And I had like $8 in the bank and I'd be like, you know what? I'll go to Key Foods. I'll figure out $8. I'll eat for the week. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm not a prostitute. Fuck you. I'm not going down. You're not going to steal my shit. Fuck you. And I didn't let them. And now, finally, like I was on Jim and Sam today, and Jim's like, what? He's like, what? I'm like, Kanye's doing it. Chappelle just pulled his show from HBO and from Netflix, and it's CBS Viacom. It's the same network because they're trying to do, because they're all becoming a conglomerate and they're siphoning the artist's shit. And I'm not Judas. I didn't take the money. And back in the day, 2 years ago, I knew that if I left that money on the table, because everything's so inverted, I was like, everybody will say she's a failed actress. She's doing it for the money. Everything they do to women, right? She fucked less. She did this. She did that. And I was like, if I leave the money on the table, their brains are going to be like, she didn't take the money. So I knew I had to wait that long so that they could go back and look and say I didn't take the money.
Well, the other thing I love about you is you're a wonderful actress. And I know you're in Southie, but in The Fighter, I remember my son and I were at the Portchester, whatever, multiplex. And you were one of the druggies in the house. And I said, and I just hit him like this and said, Todd, it's Sue. It's Sue. It's Sue in the house. And you were supposed to look like a drug addict, but your hair was perfect. And I just thought, that is so, I don't know, it's just kind of you. I just thought, this is fantastic. She's such a good looking druggie. It's like, I'll be in your play. I'll be the best drug addict you ever saw. But my hair's going to look good. I don't know. I laughed so hard. I just,
that role,
I love you as an actress.
I enjoy it.
Because you're authentic. When your energy is, they really should have taken you on The View. I mean, it's still open.
That would be interesting to see you on The View.
You have a different energy.
Yeah.
A little more combative, which would be great for the show. And the real Boston, accent and everything. And you have opinions.
Yeah, you could really give it to Joy.
And you're hilarious. I bet Joy. Yeah, Joy might not want to have you on.
Sue,
I would love to see
I don't
that.
care. I have my own show. I don't care. Joy snuck in to see my play in the Hamptons.
Oh,
Oh,
good.
shit.
He knows. They all know. I don't care. Look at me. I have like truth serum in me now. You guys are like.
Yeah.
Sue, tell the story about when you auditioned for The Fighter.
Oh yeah.
I love that story. If you don't mind, please.
I don't mind.
continue.
And what always struck me was that the waitresses in the comedy clubs would cry when I told the story.
I love this story. I've heard you tell this story when we worked together, and I love it so much.
This is the first time I met you. I heard you telling the story.
And I always was fascinated why they were crying, but they were crying because I'm showing people to not be afraid.
Right.
To not cave, I think is what it was, because the waitresses would be so moved. And I'm like, I think it's a funny story, but that was so we were auditioning to play the sisters. Nobody knew what The Fighter was. Nobody had any idea what the Fighter.
The sisters. Oh my God.
Right.
Yes, I remember. Yes. It's the clamshell. What do they call them? The sisters. Never mind. Go ahead. Clam roll. They had a name for them. The three
Oh,
of
they
them.
did?
We're gonna talk about that next year.
I'm sorry. I interrupted.
I'm just-
Jane,
I'm
stop
making-
calling us the clam roll and let Sue tell her story.
Is that dirty? That sounds dirty. I don't know.
I was like,
I didn't make it up. Okay, what's the Sue story? I want to hear
Okay,
the
so
Sue.
Yeah.
this is the time in my life I had lost everything. I didn't really lose everything. I kind of like brought it on myself. So I did lose everything. I was living with the old lady on the Upper East Side. I'd gotten evicted by accident because I told the guy I owed the money. I didn't owe the money. I was just, everything that could go wrong went wrong with my career, with my life. And so I never thought I was going to be back in Hollywood again. Never. And I get this email. I've been doing the play, and I've been doing the play over and over again, and it was getting great reviews, and it wasn't taking off. And I was like, what the heck's going on here?
Yeah.
And so I get this email, do I want to come in and audition for the fighter? We didn't know what the fighter was at the time, but I know that they had other actresses that were very
And it
famous.
was Christian Bale and Mark Wahlberg. Okay.
and David O. Russell directing. But I didn't know, I mean, the girls that were going into audition with me were famous. So there was something inside of me that I was like, and they were only inviting a few. They weren't doing like an open call. They only invited a few actresses. And I was like, oh, I must still be in the game.
Yeah.
And so I went to the first audition, and I won't say the word, but the word's coming up again, but I'll say something other than the word.
Say the word.
they tell us that the way they were doing the auditions were like, do you remember the movie? They did the HBO documentary within the movie over Christian Bale, so over Dickie. So that's how they were doing it. They were doing it as if they were interviewing us for the HBO documentary about our brother Mickey, and they were just improving, asking us questions. But before they did that, you guys know you slate, right? They ask you your size and whatever. So they say, "What's your name?" I say, "Sue Costello." They go, "How tall are you? How tall are you?" I go, 5'3". They go, "How much do you weigh?" And I go, 100 pounds. And they go, "Have you ever been in a fist fight?" And it was like the two worlds had collided, my Dorchester life and my Hollywood life. And all of a sudden I was like, it was like my whole body lit up. I was like, have I ever been in a fist fight? And I was like, click, 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 click. Which one should I tell them? Which one should I tell them? Which one should I tell them? And then I settled on this one where I was 18 years old. I was drunk out of my mind in Faneuil Hall. And I used to have a lazy eye when I was little. And when I got drunk, my lazy eye would come out. And you talk about combative, put some Budweisers in me and forget about it. And I was with my sister who was at BU Law at the time. She only had like one semester of moot court or something. She had not a lot under her belt. And this girl came walking towards us. She was like 6'7", and she had a leather jumpsuit on with zippers all over it. She was walking like this. And my sister goes, "Don't you say a fucking word." I knew. And I was hammered. And as soon as the girl walked by me under my breath, because she told me not to say anything, I just went like this under my breath. Like that. And the girl turned around and punched me in the face and knocked me out cold. I was in Lily's in Faneuil Hall, in the middle of the restaurant, knocked out cold. The girl was going to murder me. She was going to murder me. I'm not joking. My sister had to use her moot court skills to like talk her out of murdering me. She finally calms her down. I wake up. I call her the C word. She knocks me back out again. And I'm
Bye twice.
so I tell that story and I leave. And I go, I'm going to be in this movie. I know I'm going to be in this movie. I just have this feeling. And then months go by, and I usually don't have the self-esteem to call the casting director to ask what happened. But this time I did. I called and I talked to Sheila Jaffe's assistant, Rose, and I said, "What's going on with the movie?" She goes, "We have no idea what's going on with the movie, but David O. Russell loved your see story." And I was like, "Yes." And so then I know David was gonna come down to New York to meet us all.
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, we must be getting the role. We're going to be the sisters if he's coming all the way to New York, right?" And then I was headlining in Boston at the time. And so then they changed it. They brought all the girls from New York to Boston. I'm like, if they're bringing all the girls to New York to Boston because I'm headlining to meet David O. Russell, this is a good thing. So then the girls are coming up and they're feeling like they got it. So then, your confidence starts getting a little bigger and everything. And so they took the train up and we were in the hotel on the Mass Turnpike over there, that Embassy Suites.
Oh, okay.
And I remember there was one girl there and she was sabotaging everybody. I was talking at the dinner table and she goes, "Isn't it strawberry?" And I just looked at her and I was like, "I'm going to bed." I knew. I was like, that girl's going to sabotage everybody all night. I went into my hotel room and Nadal and Federer were playing. It was a rerun of one of their matches. And I was like, "See, Sue," I'm like, "you got to be like these guys." I'm like, "They have wives, they have kids, they have coaches." I'm like, "But when it comes down to it, it's them on the court. You got to be like that." And I went to bed. I woke up the next day. That girl had gotten to every girl that I was there. They were all like completely like traumatized. And I was like, I knew it. And then at the time that Fergie song had been come out, Fergalicious, you know, ain't
Oh,
no other lady put it down like me. I'm Fergalicious. So I started listening to that over and over and over and over and over again. I was working out in the gym, listening to it. And so on the way there, we find out that 2 girls from LA already got the part. So now the nervousness starts getting worse, right? So now we know that, okay, now there's only like 4 roles or whatever's left. And then we find out that there's going to be girls from Boston there at the audition. So now the competition's getting even worse. And these other girls are leveled by this other girl sabotaging everybody. So now's when you really have to get your game up. Yeah. So we get to the hallway of Boston casting, and it's like bees swarming on top of each other because everybody's nervous. And I kept leaving and going to the corner and listening to Fergalicious. I kept going in the corner and listening, and David O. Russell was late, so we had to stay in the corner. It was so stressful. And then finally they were like, we're going to call you all in together to see if we all interacted like sisters. You don't usually audition like that. You usually do it by yourself. So us being together was an abnormal, not normal. And so we were in there, and David O. Russell makes the 2 girls sit down, and he's doing the same thing, interrupting them interviewing them like that HBO documentary, and they got nothing. I mean, nothing. So now I've never seen this before. Now we're watching people shit the bed right in front of us. Now the pressure's getting even more, right? So then he sits the other 2 girls down, they shit the bed too. So all of a sudden you hear him go, let's see Sue by herself. And I go, ain't no other lady put it down like me. I'm Fergalicious. And I walk over and I sit down, and he's got the camera on me, and he says to me, tell me about your drug problem. In my head, I go, drug? I'm like, what is he talking about? Drug problem? Oh. But I just go with it. I don't know I don't know if it was because I was doing yoga. I don't know if it was because I saw them shit the bed and I wasn't going to shit the bed at any cost. And so I go, I start getting combative, and I say, I don't have a fucking drug problem. And my blood starts shaking and my neck starts getting red. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And he starts egging me on. He's like, yeah, well, I heard you had a drug problem. I go, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He's like, well, people are talking about you. I go, I don't give a fuck what people are saying about me. And then I turned my head. Now the girls are watching me. And they said I had a big blotch on my neck, and my neck was going in and out, in and out. And all of a sudden his phone rang. And I mean, I don't know what happened, because what were the choices? The choices were let him answer the phone and then the audition's dead, right? Or freak out and be like, you're disrespectful, or just go with it. I just went with it. I just stayed like I was, and I just said, fuck you. I started freaking out. I go, you asked me about my drug problem, and then you're going to answer your phone. Go fuck yourself. I started freaking out, and he goes, he takes his phone, and he goes, whoa, what do you want me to do? It's my son. I go, I don't give a fuck who it is on the phone. I freak out. I go, I don't care. And he tells the girl, get her out of here. So now they drag me out of the audition. They drag me, my feet. And I go in the bathroom, and I'm breathing so heavy. I'm like, I don't know what just happened. And I go outside, and you can tell that the girls from Boston got the role. And my heart sinks so badly. And all of a sudden, Sheila Jaffe comes out, and she's like, Sue, where's Sue Costello? Where's Sue Costello? I'm like, I'm right here. And she puts her hands on my face, and she goes, you're going to be in the movie. I'm like, I am. She's like, yeah, you're going to be a crackhead. I had no idea that that's what he was doing to provoke me to see if I could be a drug addict. And
wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're going to be a crackhead, Sue. You're going to be a crackhead.
You are a very attractive crackhead.
Thank you very much.
Gene, stop hitting on Sue.
I know.
Well, that speaks to that's even good too, because the fact that they let me still be the crackhead, considering that people might say that. But even in the movie, instinctually, from doing stand-up, my acting gets very, very strong, because stand-up, you guys know, there's nothing, you go through everything. So the acting helps me be more fearless. And there was a scene in the movie when I'm on the couch with Christian. I mean, they showed us how to do the crack with Tic Tacs and everything, but I don't know anything about crack. And there was a scene where I put the lighter on the back of the windowsill, and then I pulled my hand away and the lighter fell. And just instinctually, I got up and crawled over the back of the couch, got the lighter, put it back, and sat back down. And they kept that in the movie. And I saw a guy who used to be a crackhead. He said, Sue, do you know that that's exactly what a crackhead would do? They never leave their lighter from their side. And I'm like, how did I even know that? Wow. But the stand-up.
Method acting.
It's more instinctual acting. I just go with what.
I was just doing a play on words about meth.
I get it. But yeah, so that's my fighter story. But I have a lot of stories like that. Most of my acting, NYPD Blue, they were auditioning 300-pound women for it, and I got the role. And then the Lawrence Fishburne movie, they were auditioning big black men for it, and I got the role.
Whoa! You beat out Lawrence Fishburne?
No, Lawrence Fishburne's movie, he was auditioning big black men, and he put me in the movie instead of what he had in his head.
I think part of your appeal is like you're just authentic to the rafters, and that'll sell every time. I guess I also love that as a woman comedian, you have attitude. You know, it's just and the great writing, but you know how
There
to.
is a bit of me also that knows that because I have this attitude, like it's my responsibility. Like that CBS thing, that fucking killed me. I thought I was gonna die. And I was like, I have to do this. If I don't do this, if I take that money, I am going to be fucking complicit. They are trying to force me to be complicit to all the other women. And I'm like, and I'm not going to do it. And somebody somewhere must have thought I was strong enough to do this, because I was like, if I do this, and then sure enough, all the women were still getting hurt there. They're still getting hurt there. And so if I took the money, I would be complicit. And I have to show people how hard it is to not be complicit,
Yeah.
to not say yes, to say no. And then the guys will wake up.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
First of all,
It
we've
doesn't
gone.
matter if they wake up, because I'm fucking coming through. It doesn't matter. They can fucking.
Gonna wake them up.
I told them, tuck their balls in. You tuck them in, because I'm fucking coming through. Tuck your balls in, because I'm not.
Because I'm coming through.
Show.
I just want to end with a Sue quote, because we've already gone 20 minutes over the
Oh, I'm
norm.
sorry.
No,
It was great. It was great.
No, we're fine with it.
We're Susie Caduzzi sugar muffin fans. But I love, I think you wrote this. You want love, you want to say it? Be love. You want light, be light. That's all. That's so you.
Well, what I realized in my journey through my career, and what I help a lot of the young comics, I tell them, like, they'll not do well on stage, and I'll say, go back up there and stop trying to get laughs. You're there to give laughs. And the change in
I
it
like
is
that.
amazing.
Wow. Oh, I love that.
And when I started learning that love is an exertion, and that it's not about being selfish, that's what helped me with the CBS thing. I was like, Sue, you have to do this for all the, I mean, so many women were whispering in my ear too, Sue, keep going, keep going. We'll raise money for you. Keep going, keep going. We'll raise money for you. Don't worry. Just keep going. Just keep going. And I used to be like, why do I have to go through the pain? And then finally I was just like, because love is an exertion. And I did it for even the women that are going to hate me. I don't even care. I did it for everybody, because you can't say I'm only going to do it for this one.
Right.
Well, you really are on the front lines. Everybody should go to www.suecostello.com. Please become a Patreon sponsor.
Well, you can just donate to the TV. I have Sue TV. I've done 129 episodes. The way people help me out is they hit the donate button on SueCostello.com, or my Venmo is at I am Sue Costello. If you believe in the cause, a couple of dollars doesn't hurt. I can make $8 last for a week and a half.
But Sue is helping us all, and she's delivering the goods. Everybody, please help her out, because she's really an artist, and I admire you so much. So I'm just so happy you came on the show.
Yeah, this is such a great way to end.
Great little. This is our end of the year show. We wanted somebody special.
Thank
So-
you. Thank you for letting me have the platform. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Well, thanks for all the women you've helped.
Oh, the other thing I want to tell you guys, send me your emails, because I'm starting a Woman Crush Wednesday interview show Wednesday nights in January. I'm going to start interviewing.
Great.
all the
That's
people.
fun.
Okay, where
Okay.
does everybody send?
And Sue at SueCostello.com, and my assistant's starting at the schedule. We're going to have female, women, fucking every Wednesday night. Joe Rogan has the men. Bill Burr has the men. Sue Costello has the fucking women.
We'll be there. You're the best, Sue. Merry
Thank you.
Christmas.
Thanks,
Everything
Sue.
else, all good.
Bye,
things.
Sue.
Take care,
Happy
everybody.
holidays,
Holidays,
everyone.
everybody. Yay.